Over the last couple weeks, we have been talking about how XDC is extremely undervalued and overlooked in this market. And recently, when we were trading in the low 5 cent region, I said now is probably one of the best times to be focused on projects like this. And today, if we actually look at the XDC chart, well, we are actually up over 50+% on the 1 month. And if we actually look at the lower time frames, like even the 7 day, we're up 25%, almost 25 point like 3%. On the daily, we're up about 7% or so. But overall, we are now getting to the point where we are retesting significant levels, like, for an example, the February highs, which will lead to us actually retesting even the yearly highs. This is very exciting, especially at a time where most people are still not looking into these types of projects. And I'll talk about why here in a moment. But, as we really look at what's been happening around XDC, we have been charting XDC and talking about where we are going from our current levels. By the end of this video, I am actually going to be giving you guys my 2025 price prediction. I have made price prediction videos already on XDC this year, but just to kind of give you guys my updated view, especially with what's happening right now around this market and what we should be expecting going forward. Now, let's first start off with the price chart. And if we actually take a quick look at the price chart, this is exactly what we wanted to see out of XDC. If you guys watched my previous videos, I'm sure that you guys can get a glimpse at what I was really kind of watching for on XDC. Mainly, we were looking at this thing on the weekly, as you guys can see here. And this is great price action. We get that nice little downtrend forming all the way back here from like February into, June. Get a nice tap of this trend line. It's actually a little bit off from what I've had on this chart. It was actually more like this, but we get a nice tap of that trend line, and this is actually in the middle of June. And then we have that nice floor form for the next, 2 weekly candles, and then we get that big break to the upside, that big impulsive move to the upside. And then this candle is when we officially broke above the trend line and also had a weekly candle close over all of this resistance from April into even the middle of May. And now we're trading at about roughly 9 cents, and we are targeting the first key area here, which is about 9.25 cents. This is going off of the December resistance levels. After we clear this, we still have a little bit more work to do, obviously, until we get to the point of retesting these yearly highs, which is all the way up here at about roughly 15.5, almost 16 cents for XDC. So this is technically just the beginning. And once we actually break over these yearly highs, the all-time high is only up here at about roughly 19.5 cents. So all-time high will get retargeted pretty quick after we get that big impulsive move. But just be prepared for a potential pullback when we get into that red zone. So far, a lot of altcoins have been retesting macro highs, and this is all higher time frame resistance. So when we get close to these levels, we need to be very cautious for a pullback before the next big push. So don't get too excited, don't get too emotional here. Just kind of stay calm, collective, and just be a little bit patient, right? Because price action could take a little bit of time to really kind of realize it. And what I mean by that is it could take a little bit of time until we actually clear these levels and really break to these previous highs. But overall, XDC looks absolutely beautiful here. This is why I keep telling you guys, focus on these altcoins that nobody cares about, that are having, these deep wicks to the downside. I mean, XDC recently just tested these levels, and these were levels that we saw back in November, but also it's levels that we saw all throughout roughly 2023, even going back here to 2022. So this was a perfect opportunity to get some more XDC. And again, it's at a pretty good price point. I mean, 5.5 cents, almost 6 cents or so. I do think that will, be equivalent to a 10x plus this year, which, like I said, we will talk about my 2025 price prediction here in a bit. But I actually want to go over a few things. Number one, let's actually talk about the market opening up for XDC. We've been seeing more and more listings for XDC popping up, which we love to see. There's actually 70 exchange listings for XDC. There's still a lot of great opportunity out there for XDC listings. For an example, if we actually go to the top exchanges, just looking at this current list that we have in front of us, Kraken is a great, exchange that could list XDC. We also still have Coinbase that could list XDC. I don't think even Binance has XDC listed either. And right off the rip, that is, you know, the top three. This is two of the top three. And we also have a few other ones here. I mean, Upbit, I don't know if Upbit has XDC. I'm not seeing it here. So, again, this could be, listing after listing after listing for XDC once the demand really starts to rise around XDC, which could definitely push the price even higher. And I bring this up at a time where we just saw a big update from 21 Shares saying that global trade is getting a blockchain upgrade, or new XDC network ETP, XDCN, gives investors access to a network powering tokenized assets, smart contracts, and trade finance. Now listed on Euronext Amsterdam and Paris. And this is very exciting to see because this is more overall exposure to XDC. It's institutional access as well. And it really kind of shows us how big XDC is, behind all of the noise of, Bitcoin this or this old coin or that old coin. XDC is getting a little bit of love here, which we love to see. Like I said, XDC for so long now has been overlooked and undervalued. And I do think that that changes this year. Now, on top of that, let's take a quick look at what's been happening around the XDC community. We have over here from XDC Foundation. Good afternoon, XDC community. Here's a look at some of the latest developments from the last week, spanning tokenization, cross-chain expansion, and global trade finance. Here we have the weekly breakdown. Number 1, the XDC RWA Accelerator. Cohort 2 begins. Applications are now open for the second XDC RWA Tokenization Accelerator with Plug and Play TC. Startups building, real-world asset infrastructure are invited to apply and build the future of blockchain-powered capital markets. Then, of course, we did see XDC goes omni-chain. This is actually with Layer 0 and also Stargate Finance via the OFT standard, enabling seamless bridging to Ethereum, Solana, Arbitrum, and Base, as well as more. And here we actually have that announcement over here. So this is zero slippage, unlimited transfer size, and access to millions of new users and ecosystems. With 2.9 billion in gas token value, the XDC network is rapidly expanding its presence in cross-chain DeFi. Don't miss this step forward. And of course, with cross-chain DeFi becoming a reality around XDC and DeFi itself just growing, that's going to be great for DeFi TVL at a time where, if we actually take a quick look, TVL around XDC is actually up about 10.38%. No surprise there with XDC actually having a surge. And we can see that this is at $13 million. The first major one here is Prime Staking, actually, at $12 million. This is liquid staking. And what's crazy about this is this has been on fire as of recent. It started to have a big spike in June. And more recently, this just started to add a ton of value to it because people want to stake their XDC. They want to earn yield on their XDC. And in just the last 7 days, it's actually up about 25%. Most of these, DeFi protocols are actually up in a big way. Even the DEX is getting some love. So we love to see that. But overall, yeah, this is great in terms of really kind of focusing on, the TVL behind the network. Recently, if we go back to January, this was at about $40 million. We're at about 13 million right now. And XDC hasn't really when we look at the chart, it hasn't really hit significant demand zones just yet. Yeah, it's in the red zone. We need to be cautious here. But when we really start to break out here, I do think that the XDC TVL is really going to rise in a big way, combined with everything that's happening right now with these integrations and also the partnerships. And talking more so about those partnerships, let's actually go back real quick because I believe that they did show, so they actually didn't share it in here, but I do have it open here in a new tab. We'll talk about it here in a second. But we also have global trade finance, a $2.5 trillion problem. In a deep dive by Cointelegraph, XDC Network is highlighted as a real-world solution to trade finance inefficiencies. With pilots across Asia, Africa, and Latin, XDC is unlocking SME liquidity through tokenized documents and hybrid blockchain design. And think about it like this, right? Imagine what the retail sector is going to think when they find an altcoin that is under, we'll say, just $10 billion, solving a $2.5 trillion problem. Again, this is why I keep saying that XDC is so undercover in this space. Like, almost nobody realizes the potential that XDC actually has behind it. Now let's actually go back to the DeFi, side, because I really want to focus on this because DeFi is a huge value driver behind these networks. It actually creates a ton of demand. When we think about that, we go over here to this cohort as well. This is actually an accelerator program with Brink, which is a VC player. Brink launches Web3 accelerator with Octopus, XDC, and IDA to transform Hong Kong's loyalty and payment systems. And this is actually with XDC. This is great to see because again, Brink is a big player. They actually recently just announced some big moves happening around DeFi and tokenization initiatives with XDC. So I'm definitely excited for this. And again, when we look at what's happening here, there's so many accelerator programs around the XDC ecosystem. And that's also why I keep putting a spotlight on all these integrations as well that are happening, because XDC's ecosystem is growing at a rapid pace at a time where almost nobody is paying attention to XDC. And of course, another big one that we recently just witnessed was Assetera. So Assetera and XDC Network, a new era for on-chain capital markets. This partnership is a pivotal moment in our roadmap to build the next generation of regulated, tokenized capital markets in Europe and beyond. With Assetera's regulatory infrastructure and XDC's scalable blockchain rails, we're accelerating the institutional adoption of RWAs from tokenized ETPs to yield-bearing instruments within a compliant, interoperable framework. And yeah, this is a very exciting one because even here we do have a full breakdown from Assetera on LinkedIn. We have tokens issued on the XDC network will be listed on Assetera. XDC has registered an ETP on Euronext distributed via Assetera. Both companies are jointly working to bring more RWAs on chain. Assetera, a regulated platform operating 24/7 under MiFID II and VASP, serving institutional and retail clients in full compliance with EU regulators or regulations. Together, we're building the future of finance where RWAs meets decentralized technology. This partnership with XDC Network is a major step forward in our vision to bridge traditional finance with the Web3 ecosystem, and we are excited to bring regulated blockchain-powered capital markets to a global audience. And then, of course, this is that quote that I just read. And yeah, I mean, this is at a time where we're still waiting on that $500 million to really hit the XDC network. We are in that prime time zone for that money to be hitting, but we have yet to actually see a big change here. But overall, current RWA value on XDC, 25.37 million. And you might think that that's small, but if we actually look at the networks tab, that means that XDC is still in the top 20 here for tokenized RWAs. If we get that $500 million hitting XDC, it would immediately put it into the top 5. We don't know how long it's going to take for that to get pushed through. Obviously, there's regulations behind any tokenization initiative, but I do like the fact that we're now starting to see a lot of focus put on yield generating instruments, DeFi, RWA tokenization, and things like that around XDC, because they are the largest narratives right now currently in this space, even outside of like stablecoins. And when we're thinking about all of this, it could mean that XDC could be a front runner in terms of one of the largest moves that, an altcoin really kind of makes. And it's at a time where almost nobody's paying attention to XDC as well. So if we start to see XDC become a front runner and have these big moves to the upside, that could shock a lot of people and it could bring in a ton of FOMO, which could definitely soar XDC much higher than we thought possible. Now, what is my 2025 price prediction? Because a lot of people keep asking me about it. Well, if we're looking at XDC today and we're just going off the fully diluted value, okay? Fully diluted value, 3.42 billion. If we're looking at this logically, okay, and I'm going off of previous cycles as well, and I'm talking more so about like how hyped up some of these projects have been over the time, like even meme coins, right? 3.42 billion, we'll say, a 10x, $34.2 billion in market cap. That's a 90 cent XDC. That's not too crazy to me. But what if we 20x to $1.80? Well, you're still talking about a $70 billion market cap. Guys, right now, to get into the top 7 position, you need $64.8 billion. But if we think about towards the end of the cycle, I truly do think that to get into the top 15, you're going to need at least $30 plus billion. That means that XDC could be trading at very, very high levels. Even if we go back to the historical snapshots and we go back to the top of the 2021 cycle. Now, obviously, yes, most altcoins did top around like the May timeframe for 2021. We'll go off of that as well. So here we have, some of that price action. It's kind of like in the middle of, May of 2021. Here we have the top 15. Top 15 was about $14 billion, okay? Top 15 currently, let's actually bring up the current chart because this is what I mean by how cycles change. We're not even in the middle of Volt season. The top 15 is $11.2 billion. Again, we're almost right at the peak levels of alt season back in 2021. Now, if we go into, November, because this is when like a lot of altcoins are starting to really hit big and, they're having their second wave up in the market. So here we have like right around the time where most of the market is red hot. Ethereum is trading at like its, all-time highs almost. So we'll go off on November 14th, right? So again, top 15, $15.7 billion. We're at that level right now for like the top 15. So I think that these numbers double. So top 15 would be about $30 plus billion. Top 10 would be about $68 billion, which is what I mean by, if XDC does get a substantial amount of demand behind it and a lot of hype, then it could definitely reach the top 10. But going off of my conservative outlook for price predictions for, some of these altcoins for XDC, I'm looking at mainly getting a nice little, I would say a nice little 10x from here would be great to see. Okay, so about 90 cents. And then if we are really getting extremely bullish, we'll say 20x, $1.80. I think that that is possible this cycle. We'll have to take it one step at a time, obviously, and see what happens with XDC. We obviously need a lot more eyes on XDC. We need a lot more exposure, but there's a lot of listing opportunity here for XDC. There's a lot of growth opportunity here for XDC. We have yet to see that tokenized value hit the chain, but if it does hit and we get that 500 million on XDC, that could quickly change the way that everyone looks at XDC going forward. So I'm definitely waiting to see what happens here, but I'm excited for XDC, and I'm very excited for, what happens during the rest of the cycle for a lot of these altcoins, including even XDC as well. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.